Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, what brought me into the technology was the idea that the money that we had was bad, right? And I was actually consulting in e-commerce, so like a Shopify business. Guy was actually a really good artist, very very renowned artist that I was working with, and he says, I want to accept cryptocurrencies. And I go, what the hell is a cryptocurrency? Which I think is how most people learn about blockchain technology. I think somebody just comes to them and says Bitcoin, and they're like, what? Yeah, right. So
Yeah.
I started looking into it and be like, okay, this guy wants to accept this stuff in his business. Is it safe? What is it all about? And I started going down this rabbit hole of understanding monetary policy and understanding how the money that we use in the world works, the pros and the cons of it. And it became really apparent that the money we have sucks, right? It inflates. So year over year, it loses purchasing power. So there's more money in circulation, and the value of that dollar is actually going down. That's why when I was a kid, what you used to be able to buy for $1 now costs you $2, right? Um, and that just happens consistently year over year. So, and in worst case scenarios, your money goes into a state of what's called hyperinflation. So this is what's happened in Venezuela and Zimbabwe and any number of other countries around the world, is that it basically becomes worthless. Like, millions of dollars effectively can barely buy you a loaf of bread, is what I'm talking about here. We in the Western world feel maybe a little bit safe from that, but um, there is no reason to believe that. The way that it's done here in the Western world is done so slowly that it's like a frog boiling in water, if you've ever heard that metaphor, right? The temperature gradually rises and the frog doesn't jump out because it doesn't realize it's being cooked. And the same logic is here with the money. Eventually, we're going to reach a point where $10,000 or $100,000 doesn't really mean that much anymore. And I'm sure you probably subconscious you've already felt that. Like when somebody used to say $100 million, you're like, that's a lot of money. Now somebody says $1 billion, and you're like, oh, that's not like a lot. Like it's not Jeff Bezos money. That's not Elon Musk money, right? We need to go to hundreds of billions of dollars, getting into the trillions of dollars, and that is because of inflation. So here I am looking at this going, okay, there's a real use case around having better money. And so, I got really excited about Bitcoin and about some of the other altcoins at the time that were coming into the play and coming into the forefront. And I was like, wow, this is almost like a complete inversion of what we are doing right now. Um, and then the 2016 17 or the 2017 2018 boom happened, and everything exploded, right? And every bank from here to Timbuktu was just like, it's a scam, don't buy Bitcoin, it's evil, like you'll lose all your money. But here we are in 2021, and all these banks are like, yeah, buy Bitcoin, we're gonna move Bitcoin into our pension funds. And uh, really what was taking place there was this technology was disrupting their power hierarchy, right? Because banking is just a network, a small network of companies. It's just an old boys club of banks, um, saying we are going to dictate the rules of how you engage with your money. And Bitcoin said, no, we don't need to do that. We can. There's another way. There's another solution. Um, so that's how I got introduced to the technology. But it became really apparent that as great as Bitcoin was, it actually still wasn't very good as money. It was great for accumulating wealth, what's called a store of value, right? When you just buy something, you hold it, you sit on it, and it goes up in value, right? Like a stock or a bond. It's great for that kind of stuff. And I do recommend that everybody hold at least a little bit of Bitcoin. Um, Not that I'm a financial advisor, so speak to a professional. Um, but it became obvious that we needed digital currencies that were better money, and uh, that were stabilized comparatively. Um, so that's when I came into contact with LODE, right? And as I mentioned before, LODE creates stabilized money that's built for businesses. So let me paint a hypothetical situation for you. Let's say you go to a coffee shop. Coffee is like, maybe a buck 20, maybe $2, $5 if you're going to Starbucks, right? And you go there and you pay with your Bitcoin, and then you look at your phone and Bitcoin goes up like 20%. So now that coffee that you just paid for, you actually spent, $6, $7 or like 5.25. The point here being that the value of that coffee has now gone up because Bitcoin's price fluctuates so wildly. And as a business owner, how are you supposed to give your customers fair pricing? Because and me as an individual, why would I sell something that is expected to go up? Doesn't make a lot of sense. But that's where gold and silver come in. See, gold and silver throughout most of the world's history have been used as money. The United States dollar had a gold standard. Most empires in the world, I'm talking all the way back to ancient Greece and beyond, used gold and silver for money, and it worked. So there's like thousands of years of monetary history here, and what has been proven to happen is that precious metals are a great store of value, but they're also a great medium of exchange, meaning that they preserve their value over time. So what a gram of gold could buy me back in the Middle Ages is pretty close to what a gram of gold could still buy me today, right? In terms of equivalent purchasing value. 100 years ago, what a gram of gold could buy me is pretty much what a gram of gold can buy me today. Maybe a little bit better, but because of that, there is stability, right? And it protects people from inflation. So by backing your money with these assets, you're protecting your wealth for tomorrow. And when you want to take your wins with Bitcoin, right? So you want to get out of Bitcoin because Lambo's on the moon, and we've all gotten holding Bitcoin, and it's now super wealthy. You want to take your wins. You want to lock that money in and make sure it doesn't disappear if Elon Musk farts and says, "I hate Bitcoin," right? Um, so where do you put that money? Do you put it in the dollar, which is going to lose value year over year? No, you're going to put it in something like gold and silver that's going to keep its wealth and stay where it's supposed to be in terms of its value. So that's how LODE got started. And I came across this project and I was like, wow, okay, this is a real like unicorn, for lack of a better phrase, and has the power to really change how people engage with money. And it's been that way ever since. So I've dumped a ton of information on you, and I apologize for going on a bit of a rant, but I'll put it back in your court.